One of the other people that was on our trip was sponsoring this tallest girl in Uganda, and she came to him and she said, I'd like you to meet my father. There are about 20 of us advocates who are on the trip, and she said to him, I'd like you to meet my dad. And it's a pretty big deal to meet their families, to be invited into their homes. And so he's kind of grabbed a group of us and, hey, we're going to go meet Christine's father. And so we're walking up the road, and we're joined by this other girl, the kind of second tallest kid there. So this is a friend here? She goes, oh no, this is my sister. I'm like, oh great. So we get to the house, and there's Peter, who's the man, and these three little boys, including the dude who's picking his nose. And this is the best picture we have of him, because there are other ones who are just like, how do you get that back out? And so these three little boys are there, and we're there with Christine and her sister and these three boys, and I'm like, are these your brothers? She goes, oh well, yeah, there's a three. And Peter says, actually, there are two more. You have 7 children? Yeah, I have 7 kids. So we go inside, and Peter's place, it's built out of these mud bricks. He built these mud bricks from the mud outside of his own house. And I mean, it's like maybe 3/4 the size of this part of the stage I'm on. There's 7 of them in there. And we're sitting there, we're talking to Peter for a while, and saying, you 7 children, and that's incredible, and taking care of these kids, and how you do this, and where's your wife? And my wife had passed away. And then we start doing some of the math, and we're like, wait, hold on, because some of these boys in age, they're kind of close, and then this, and he says, well, I actually have to be honest with you, none of these children are my biological children. 4 of these kids were orphaned by HIV/AIDS. 4 of the 7, they lost their parents to AIDS. The other 3 were simply abandoned by folks who could no longer care for them or chose not to. And Peter, this man, looked around his neighborhood, and he claimed these children as his own children. What a challenge that was to me, that when I look at those statistics and I talk about 5,000 people who are trafficked for sexual exploitation every day, do I see those numbers as someone else's children, or do I believe that because God is my father, those kids are family to me as well? That he looked around his neighborhood and he embraced these children as his children. These are my kids. So we're celebrating this man, just heaping blessing on him. You're a hero. Thank you for what you do. We're overwhelmed. We're all crying, and we're getting ready to leave. And said, can we pray for you? Is there anything we can pray for you about? And he said, if you can please pray for me that I can live long enough to care for my children. And he's a young enough looking guy, and so he said, is there something that we should know? And he whispered to the translator, and the translator kind of looked around the room for a second. He said, Peter's HIV positive. There's this old adage that, like, when all hell breaks loose in your life, at least you still have your health. This is a man who has nothing. Not even his own health. And we're stuck there, like frozen, looking at this man. We're saying, one of the guys, the compassion staff guy said, I'm overwhelmed by your generosity. And this is what Peter said to us. And one of those moments for me that will live in my heart in a very deep place. He looked around at us and he said, honestly, God has been so good to me. God has given me so much. How could I possibly ignore the needs of his little ones?